Hello and good evening. JC here from We Are the Arsenal. I hope everyone is doing well today. Not too disheartened, disappointed, or even depressed after yesterday's disappointing draw at home to Burnley. Today, I'm joined by Neil, John, and soon Keith to help analyse yesterday's, as already mentioned, disappointing points dropped potentially, more than likely, probably the best way to describe it. Before we go on to analyse today's game and before I introduce my guests, please do drop a like on today's stream, subscribe if you're new around here, and don't forget to turn the notification bell on. But guest number one, Neil, how are we doing, my friend?
I am freezing. I live in the Sunshine State. It's sunny outside, but it's freezing. Maybe not to you guys' standard. You might have on shorts and be wanting to go outside and run, but I'm not built for this, man. But good otherwise.
Good. And John, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. I'm just since the game's ended, I just can't. I've too many things to say, and there's too many things coming into my head about the game. So it's frustrating me at the moment, and especially when I'm playing for a while, it's not easy.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Muds, for coming along. Really do appreciate you showing your support. I can see there's quite a few of you now slowly making your way in to today's live show. So do please pop any questions or comments in the chat box, and either myself or today's panelists will try their very best to answer any questions that you may have. Keith still isn't with us. He should be with us in the next few moments. Hopefully he can join us to give his thoughts on the lineup, which is where we're going to start today's live show. And it seems to be a bit of a problem at the moment due to a lack of numbers, well, senior players really, that can be picked from. Starting with yourself, Neil, any surprises in there for you? Were you looking to maybe see a different player from who was available, maybe even a different system because of who was available?
I was hoping to see Ben White or Callum Chambers, but I guess they're not. Callum Chambers is not available. I was hoping to see Ben White move into the midfield alongside Sambi. Outside of that, when I saw the starting 11, it wasn't like a shock because I know, what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with red cards. We're dealing with players away on duties. So yeah, man, it is what it is.
John, would you have done anything differently? System, players playing different positions?
I probably would have put Tavares in for Rob Holding and put Ben White back at centre back, maybe just for a bit more pace down the width, to try overlap to catch Burnley out. Because Ben White, he can play there, but he's not a player to go forward to overlap to help Saka out to try interchange and get through Burnley's back 5, 6, whatever way they play, back 11. But apart from that, I would have just done that in midfield. I would have just kept it the way it was. There's nothing really we can do at the moment. You can see the bench there. I wouldn't have started Charlie Patino, not against Burnley. They're physical side. They'll rough you up. I wouldn't have chanced them.
Yes, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to include the bench today. We only made one substitute during the game, and we are gonna talk about that because Arteta has been criticised in the past for his decisions on who to bring on, how many to bring on, when to bring them on. But when you look at the substitutes bench yesterday, you've got Leno, Tavares, Chambers, and obviously Nketiah who came on. So realistically, there's only 4 senior players on the bench. Apart from Patino, who played against Nottingham Forest, you can't really count him as a senior player just yet.
The only thing is annoying when you look at the bench is you look at the bench and you could have Maitland Niles there. You could have had other players there that were questionably loaned out without preparing for it really. But for this game, you can't really blame the manager, but in a way you can because he approved the loans. He would have been asked.
Yeah, he would have had the final say. I think the only other player that's gone out this window, and do correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm forgetting anyone, is Kolasinac, who I wouldn't.
Well, he was right to go.
Yeah, I don't think he would have improved the side in any way. But yeah, I don't think my sort of 2 pence worth on the lineup really. I don't think you could have played a different system. It's not like we were playing against the Liverpool or City where you'd play 5 at the back because you're going to have to deal with attack after attack after attack. We knew that we were going to dominate possession against Burnley at home. We always knew we were going to do that. And I don't really know what else you could have done in midfield, except, like you said, Neil, maybe bring White in there, push Tavares out to the right-hand side potentially. And as you said, John, had Maitland-Niles been around, you would have thought he would have partnered Sambi in midfield, and then it would have been a choice between Emil Smith-Rowe and Odegaard as the so-called number 10. So I don't think
Chambers was available. So, Chambers is available. He's on the bench.
And he was fantastic when he came on against Liverpool in the first leg. He was fantastic.
Yeah. There's some questions to be asked.
I wonder if Chambers is still fully fit, though, after COVID. Did he get COVID or he was injured? He might not be 100%. He might have had to be put on the bench because it was the only option. A bit like when we played Liverpool and Tomiyasu had to play even though he wasn't fit.
Yeah. It could
have been down to that. Yeah, it's hard to look into all that stuff. We don't really know. But on the starting 11, I don't think much people could have really argued.
No.
Yeah, I think from an attacking outlet point of view, having Chambers at right back instead of White and pushing White into, the centre back position would have made more sense because going forward he would have offered you something different.
Yeah, overlapping
and it would have
stuff,
allowed Ben White to maybe tuck into midfield to help Sambi out, for example, as well. Yeah. So just in time, Keith has joined us before we move on to the next section. How are we doing, Keith? You doing well?
Yeah, not too bad. So I took my daughter with her university application. I was like, oh man, look at the time.
Well, you've joined at a perfect time because we were just about to move on, to break down the game, as you know, the normal format of these shows. But before we do, as you're here, I may as well ask you what your general thoughts on yesterday's lineup were, whether or not you would have made any changes to players starting or even the system for that matter.
To be honest, the start of the game was a bit of a mad swirl for me because I was trying to find a link to watch it. I couldn't find one. And then I was going to listen to the radio. Actually, in hindsight, I wish I probably had, but we'll get into that later on, no doubt. But the lineup itself, it was much of a muchness. It seems like we're a little bit too defensive with Odegaard sat back. I'd rather just seen us go with Sambi in the middle and Odegaard and the Smith a bit further forward. But then I know that gives Sambi a lot of work. I was expecting to see Ben White right back, to be honest. After seeing Tommy weren't even on the bench, he's clearly not fit at the moment. So, I don't really see there's much else that we could have gone with, to be perfectly honest with you. Looking at the names on the right-hand side there, I thought we might have seen Tavares at some point. Gabby was doing what he does every single game. Maybe we might have seen Tavares at some point, but it's kind of pretty much what I'd have gone with, I think. In fairness.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? We were just saying it's difficult at the moment because I think around about sort of a month to 6 weeks ago, the lineup picked itself, even though we had loads of players fit. And at this point in time, the lineup picks itself, but for a completely different reason because we don't have players available. So it's easy to see who's going to start, because there are players unavailable, whether it be Aubameyang through disciplinary issues or COVID reasons, players being out on loan when they probably shouldn't be. So it's a really, really sticky situation to be in. And one of the things that we are going to talk about today, just very, very briefly towards the end of today's show, is the transfer window, because there's only 7 days left and there's clearly a need. There's clearly a need to bring players in. A couple more comments very, very quickly. Thank you, Cal. Hope you're well, my friend. Thank you very much for coming along and showing your support today. And also, Goonalicious Breed TV. At this rate, Leno might get a game in the... Yeah, well, he can't do any worse. He can't do any worse than some of the other players in this team at the moment. So we are going to move into the match breakdown. Do get any questions, any comments in the chat for the panel. We'll run through some of my own questions, and if you have any of your own, don't forget to make those comments. So, first question of today's breakdown, coming to you first, John. It's going to be a bit of a long-winded one. I want to kind of put some context in it. When games are as goalless and incidentless as these, it can sometimes be difficult to create questions for these shows, but I've done my best, and there's a few in there that should hopefully create some good topics. So starting with, the overall game in general. So Arsenal started the game very slowly. I think we can all agree on that. And it definitely played far more into Burnley's hands. They would have much rather have played a slow game, hitting Arsenal on the counter-attack. And it was much of the same all the way up until the final whistle. We saw spells where we did turn up the intensity, of course. And when we did, funnily enough, we created
looked like
the chances. Absolutely. But when we did create chances, same story as the Liverpool game, we weren't clinical enough. So the players, as we've just discussed, it kind of picked itself. System, likewise. What was the problem yesterday? Was it luck? Was it the system, the tactics, the players, confidence? What was it, do you think, John?
I think you when you play Burnley, you know what you're going to get with Burnley. They're going to sit back. They're going to be rough. And the worst thing we could have done in this game was put in, as I said, off camera, we put in 33 crosses yesterday. You're playing against Tarkowski at the back and Ben Mee. That's bread and butter to them against Burnley. And then apart from the crosses, when you're playing against these sort of teams, these low blocks and sit back, you have to move the ball quick. It needs to keep going to each flank, moving it across quick. But we were just slow. We were predictable. When we did speed up a little bit in the first half, we had a shot from Smith Rowe that was saved. And then Lacazette had a rebound that was blocked. That was the highlight of the first half. But again, as I said, it was just too slow and predictable. And when you're playing against these teams, you have to move the ball much, much quicker.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely indeed. Moving the ball quickly was an absolute must for me yesterday. Goonalicious, we will get onto this question. I've got it lined up for the end of the match breakdown. Don't you worry, because at the moment it's a hot topic for Arsenal. Keith, your thoughts on the sort of general game? Because, as I said, it was very, very slow. And the obvious thing there was to obviously turn the heat up, which didn't happen often enough for me.
It was, I'm always banging on about tempo and intensity. It's like my two buzzwords for the last couple of seasons. And when we've played with high tempo and high intensity, we've been brilliant. Look at us. Man City was probably the last time we played like that, and we were very, very unfortunate not to even get 3 points against them, to be honest. But it seems like the last few games, I think losing to Liverpool's really took the wind out of the sails, and he's struggling to get back up again, because that was a performance devoid of confidence, with the exception of a few players. Saka and Martinelli were taking it to him. Odegaard was trying his best. But everyone else, even coming back to Aaron Ramsdale, his distribution from the ground was really slow. And there was one point I thought we were going to get a Burnley 2. Remember the one with Leno and Xhaka last season?
Oh, God.
He just about got away with it. Even him, and he's, I'm certainly not going to call him out for anything, because this guy's been unbelievable. But the tempo just wasn't there. And I thought it seemed like just a complete lack of belief from the players, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's why I said confidence when I was giving John
Ben Mee and Tarkowski bread and butter. They're just gonna eat that up all day long. That's not the way to get through them.
No, absolutely.
I think this manager's only beaten John Dyche once.
Crazy when you think about it. Cal was agreeing with us as well by the sounds of things. He meant the right hand side when we're talking about Tavares in the lineup, which is good to see. We're all on the same page with that one. Neil, your thoughts?
Listen, we're going up against a team that is known or renowned for defending crosses into the box, but at the same time, we had nothing coming through the middle. We have no one there to build from the middle. That being in the likes of Sambi, he was just there, stagnant between those two players. He couldn't get the ball, and this is not on him. I'm not trying to get down on him in any form or fashion. This is not his fault. This is all on Edu and Mikel Arteta. Their lack of being proactive and trying to get someone in, at least one person in, before they decide to loan everybody out to fill that position, so he could have someone there with him. We wasn't saying, just like in the Liverpool game, we really just we weren't saying anything to that defense. We were just at one point 90% possession, to show for what, so I don't know, man. It's
frustrating.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very frustrating. Cal makes a very good point, and it could certainly happen. It's a real possibility that we don't sign anyone in January, given our potential financial situation, which we will get onto shortly. Don't you worry. So, John, coming back to you with the next question, VAR and officiating and the consistency behind it. I'm sure you all know what I'm about to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ashley Westwood yesterday, he caught Kieran Tierney in the first half with a terrible challenge. He got booked for it. It was reviewed by VAR, as you'd expect it to be. He got a booking, as I said. Some say that he got away with it. What are your thoughts?
Before we go into it, I just want to say I'm sick of fans after every game. They have to look for an excuse. They have to look for a red card that should have been given, a penalty that should have been given. This is Burnley. You should be able to beat Burnley on your worst day. They're bottom of the league. And again, like, we're not the only club that don't get decisions made for us, but our fan base just love to complain after a game. They don't look at the players. They don't look at the manager. They just go straight in on VAR. For me, it's a red card. It might come across biased, but again, I didn't complain about it because there's enough minutes on the pitch to win the game, whether they're down to 10 or 11. And it's just, I just think it's pathetic looking for our fans seem to look for a decision every game, the littlest decision.
No, I definitely appreciate what you're saying in terms of our opposition. And, you know, we're at home, we're playing against Burnley, who I think bottom of the league at the moment. They're not in very good form. You know, they've got players missing. I completely appreciate that. What I'm more concerned about is the consistency.
Oh, that's all.
In
the
officiating.
Of course, that's always going to happen. But people seem to think it's only Arsenal. If you've watched other games, there's plenty of dodgy decisions in other games that, you know, we've had decisions before that have went with us that shouldn't have went with us. You know, so it works both ways. But with our fan base, it just seems to be, you know, we're concentrating on decisions going against us, and then we're looking at other games like the United game, saying that should have been offside and stuff like that. I think if the decision doesn't go, yeah, it's going to knock a bit of confidence in the team, but just get on with it. It wasn't a red card. Get on with it.
Keith, what are your thoughts?
I literally detest VAR like sickness. It should be brilliant because it should take out of the referee's hands any mistakes that he should have made. Things like this that are clear, black and white decisions. Was it a goal? Wasn't it a goal? Was it offside? Was it not offside? Was it a penalty? Was it not a penalty? Those are the three main things it's supposed to be there for, and red cards. Yeah. And there are so many decisions that we all sit here, and we've had the benefit of video playback for donkey's years since we all started watching you know, live football whenever it first started coming on telly. So we've always had that benefit. Referees haven't, but now they have. There's a guy who sits there like we do with screens in front of him, but he gets to replay it. He gets to look at his red, blue, and green lines, and there should be no debate with most of these decisions whether it was a correct decision or an incorrect decision by the referee. I didn't see the stamp live because I was still scratching around looking for a stream at the time, but I've seen clips of it, and that's, I mean, night and day to me. It should have been a red card, but then having said that, they probably would have defended even more resolutely if they were down to 10 men. I know it didn't affect the result in the end, but it's another wrong decision. And like John said, it is happening to everyone. Look at the Diego Jota penalty against Crystal Palace. But never. And I mean, I've been getting so much stick off, and we probably all have one on our various WhatsApp groups. And I'm the only Gooner in one of our fantasy football league ones of about 20 people. So I've been getting tons about the COVID stuff. I've been rounding people left, right, and centre. And there's about 8 Liverpool fans on this. Every single one of them said yesterday that was not a penalty.
And the first goal should have been offside too, the first or second one.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, but it was, you know, more about that penalty and various other decisions. They're getting it wrong left, right, and centre, and they shouldn't be getting it wrong. And that is the problem for me. There is no way they should be getting these decisions wrong.
And this is the issue. And I remember, I think it was the season before VAR got brought in. I think Liverpool won the league that year, and there were 4 or 5 decisions across various different games where Liverpool ended up winning a game by 1 goal. And there were countless times where players were clearly offside. Like, we're not talking little bit where they would have had to have brought the lines out. It was clearly offside. You know, and these are the years where, you know, it's been pretty much, you know, a couple of points between Liverpool and City winning the league. And this, as you said, Keith, this is one of the reasons why VAR was introduced, because it can be the difference between a team winning the title and a team not winning the title.
Not even that, though. You can't even celebrate a goal anymore because your team score. You go to celebrate, and then you're waiting for 10 minutes to see if the goal stands or not. So if I haven't been to a game, but if you're in the crowd, like now you don't know if to celebrate or not.
Yeah,
it takes the excitement away.
That's killed a lot of football for me.
It's took the excitement away.
The other end of or the other side of the coin is we're talking about teams winning the league by the odd goal here or there. The other end of the table, you've got teams getting relegated. If they're relegated on a really poor VAR.
Well, look at Sheffield United. I think they got robbed by Aston Villa when the ball was miles over the line, or it wasn't over the line. I forget what decision it was, but that cost them, and Villa stayed up.
Yeah, and the reality is,
£100 million.
People lost their jobs over that.
Yeah.
People like us, stewards, admin staff, whatever, they've had to make cutbacks, and they've lost their jobs because a mistake has been made. And you've got to wonder about the agenda. Or I have anyway, with my tinfoil hat on. It's like, I don't see how they can get so much wrong. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, as the weird Gooner says here, I think it's not just the technology. I don't think there's a problem with the technology itself, because the Euros was a great example of how the technology should be used. And it wasn't slowing down games anywhere near as much as it does in the Premier League, and it was used in the right way. Neil, what are your thoughts very, very quickly on the situation, just before there's a second question I want to ask with regards to this particular incident?
Very quickly, I strongly believe that until someone's leg is broken from our team, then we'll have proper officiating over the game, because some of the stuff that I saw yesterday as well, and in other games, you have to ask the question, why are these things not being reviewed? Why are they not? You have to ask the question. This is the livelihood of people. They're human beings. They could get injured really, really badly. Look at Tomiyasu, get stamped in his face, nothing happened from that. And I know this happening across the league, but the first 2 seasons of that VAR was introduced, Arsenal had in back-to-back seasons the most incorrect decisions made. 9 and then 9 again. 2 seasons back-to-back. I remember that because I found it too strange. And then it continues. So as much as it's happening across the league, it's significantly higher with us. Second to us after 9 is 5. And I think that was Crystal Palace. So while it might seem as if we're looking to, find a scapegoat, yesterday, that could have been a red card or not, but we should have been finishing our chances as well.
Yeah, 100% agree. We shouldn't be using VAR as an excuse.
It's not
my problem here, as I think we can all agree, and the chat as well, is that the technology is being used in the wrong way, firstly, and second of all, it's being used by people who are clearly not competent enough to do their jobs. So the second part of this question is with regards to the second incident. As you can see now on screen, the first incident that was reviewed by VAR, and Westwood was given a yellow card. So, we can't complain it was reviewed, whether or not it was the right decision or the wrong decision. It gets booked, fair enough. We move on, as you said, John, we move on, we get on with the game, right? Mm-hmm. My problem here is the second incident is not necessarily an incident that needs to be reviewed by VAR, but this is definitely more to do with the consistency of officiating in the Premier League. Now, if we look back at the Manchester City game, Gabriel was given 2 yellow cards in a very, very short space of time, not necessarily on the same level as the first incident. But the second incident for me is somewhere in the same sort of ballpark in terms of what should and shouldn't be happening on a football pitch. Why do you think, Keith, coming to you first this time, why do you think Westwood wasn't given a yellow card for this? Because that's a second bookable offence. If the first one isn't a red card, which it wasn't, this is a second bookable offence, surely.
I honestly have no answer for that question. I can't see why. The only thing probably strange is that Gabriel didn't get sent off for attacking his elbow with his face, to be honest. Seriously, how is it that... because Burnley, they themselves have had a rough run of decisions from referees and VARs as well. Could it be that they're aware that everyone's starting to pick up on it and they're trying to even things out a little bit? But by doing so, if that is the case, that puts them more under the microscope for me because they're two shocking challenges. So, what did you get? One yellow
in the end? Yeah, just the yellow card for the first challenge.
Yeah,
that was it.
That, on another day, and another side, or against
It's
another
two reds.
red.
It's crazy when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean the point you made earlier was really good. I think it was in the chat as well. Sorry, I can't remember who put it about the Euros. I remember we all, like me and my mates, we went and watched every game in the local, and we were always commenting that you very rarely noticed A, the ref, and B, VAR had very, very little impact on the games, and that just shows the standard of the officiating in the Euros. So surely it must be down just to the quality of these referees and the VARs. Don't really know what else to say, but I can't for the life of me fathom how he's got away with those.
Yeah, crazy. Neil, thoughts?
As I said, unless if Kieran Tierney's leg was broken, because that was he could have easily got his leg broken right there. That to me was a red card. Second, that was a blatant elbow. Like, you don't defend like this. You don't defend like this. I don't know. So Gabriel is significantly taller than most, so he had to do this to elbow him in his face. So that is not a natural position.
John?
No, the boys have summed it up. Like, I've nothing to say. Just the first one. If the first one isn't a red card, I don't know what is a red card in this league. But we've seen less given, so it's just, I don't really like to go into VR too much because you could talk about it for weeks, days, months, years. But as the boys covered it perfectly.
Absolutely. Right. Next question. Keith, I'm going to come to you first this time. I'm going to throw some numbers at you first. I'm sure you're probably all aware of it if you watched the game. I think most of us did. In the first half, or should I say at the end of the first half, Arsenal had 75% possession, 12 shots, not on target, just 12 shots in total, and 4 corners. Nothing to show for it. Obviously, we know that already. I get that you can dominate a first half and not get anything from a game. I can get that you can sometimes dominate 90 minutes and still not get anything from a game. But what I don't understand is why Arteta didn't change anything at halftime. I'm not talking making substitutes. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you need to make a sub, you need to make a sub at the end of the day. He showed that in the Nottingham Forest game. He took Tavares off after 30 odd minutes or whatever it is. But me as a football fan, I can clearly see the way to get at Burnley is to raise the tempo, create urgency, move the ball quicker, 1 and 2 touch passes. That's what I thought Arteta was going to say at half time. What's gone on at half time? Because they've come out exactly the same side. Why hasn't he made changes?
I reckon they've just sat around and had a nice, peaceful little chat and just said, keep doing what you're doing, lads. We're going to break them down before long. The thing was, I mean, you got Gabby and Saka on either flank, and there's notable there, actually. Last couple of weeks, they've both been further ahead than Lacazette on your charts there, and they're not. But it got to the point where Saka was almost getting a little bit predictable. He kept coming inside, and they were doubling up the moment he came inside. I want to see him switching over. They can both play either flank, and I've been a big fan of Lacazette for a long time. I'm always spouting on about how much I like the bloke. But the one thing we were lacking was some pace up front, and I just kept thinking, why, when the substitutions were finally made and Eddie came on,
I knocked the game off.
Yeah, I know ESR was knackered at that point, and he's just coming back from a pretty bad injury himself.
Yeah.
But part of me starts thinking, why don't we give Gabby a go up top? I know he played there back in the last season. He was a bit out of his depth against West Brom, but he's a different player now. He's a much, much improved player than the one we saw in that game. I just think, and the plan seems to be to eventually move him into a central striking role, same as we did with Thierry Henry, I suppose. But why not give it a whirl now? Because we've got nothing else up front. Lacazette's devoid of confidence, and that was proven. But I was looking for a change when we came back out, and there was nothing. I agree totally with what you said. The only way we would have beat this lot was to get the ball moving fast, 1 and 2 touches, and just leave them chasing shadows. And just didn't happen. We didn't move the ball anywhere near fast enough to do that.
It's just odd to me. Coming to you next, Neil, as Keith said, there were all of the chances that we created in the first half came from moving the ball quickly. 1 and 2 touch stuff. And there were chances in the first half for us to score goals. We're not talking half chances here. There were some really good chances for us to go at least 1-0 up in that first half.
Mhm.
Why didn't Arteta make changes in terms of to the system or the way we were playing tactically? Because everyone talks about how great he is as a tactician in training.
Oh my God. I think, listen, I know a lot of people, and you see it on various other channels, they talk about how he only has a plan A. And I think it's true. I think it's true because he believes in his plan. He believes that what he set out can break any team down. That's his belief. However, when those 11 players cross that line and they go on and they're actually playing the football and they're seeing what they're up against and who's coming at them and what they're trying is not working, you have to lose confidence. You're only human. You're only human at the end of the day. And these guys have worked their butts off to get to the level that they are. And you can see against certain teams it works, and against these types of teams like Burnley, who they're defensively strong, they're a sound defensive team. Yes, they're bottom of the league, but you just can't come up to them. I call them a modern day Stoke. They're like a rugby team. They're very physical. So we have to know what we're doing and what to expect. And he needs to add variation to his plans because it doesn't work.
It doesn't. John, your thoughts on why you didn't change anything at halftime?
I thought he would have got them in a half time, and I didn't think he was going to be very pleased with the first half. Yes, we had a few half chances. I think we had the one with Smith Rowe where again he hit at the keeper and Lacazette with the rebound was blocked. But apart from that, I don't think Burnley will have an easier defensive game this season to play. I think if they play Norwich, Norwich will put up more of a threat because again Norwich have a plan B and a plan C. As Neil said, we have a plan A, it seems, and I don't like to. I'm not Mikel's biggest fan, but I've praised him a lot lately and I'll still praise him. But in this game, he probably thought Burnley would start to tire because they haven't played a lot of games recently with COVID. They've had like 4 or 5 postponed on the bounce. But you won't tire a team if you don't move the ball quick enough, and we didn't. And as Keith said, I'd like the front three, Saka and Martinelli, to be interchanging wings. We see it with Liverpool with their front three. They don't stay on one side. Every 5-10 minutes, you're seeing them all in different positions on each side. So, but we just, I was really disappointed what was ever said at half time, and it didn't lift the players at all, and there was no change.
Well, look, I'm going to come straight back to you, John, because whilst we're on the subject of change, Arteta did decide to make a change, but not until the 77th minute. I know, as we already kind of pointed out in the first part of today's show with regards to the substitutes, didn't really have, much to pick from, but we know that Tavares can be a threat on the flanks, potentially. Chambers could have come on and changed maybe the dynamic at right back. What I don't understand is why he didn't make that change. So if he wasn't going to change something at half time, I don't understand why he's waited until the 77th minute to make a change or not make more changes. What are your thoughts on it?
How many changes did he make again? Was it just Eddie?
Just the one, yeah, just Eddie.
Yeah, I would have brought on Tavares for. I would have brought him on. I would have put Ben White back in centre back, and I would have brought on Tavares for Rob Holding, because then you have Tavares, as I said earlier, he can overlap with Saka at least, because we like to play down the wings, but if you don't have someone overlapping, to try get more balls into the box or to try break the line, or Tavares, if he's overlapping, he can drag out one player for Saka to hopefully cut in. But as for bringing on Eddie, I'm sick of seeing Eddie. He couldn't make it in a championship club at Leeds. We all want him to do well. We remember his debut where he came on against Norwich and scored 2 goals in the cup. But I'm sick of seeing him now. When he came on, I felt like turning off the TV. Just no confidence in him.
Keith, what are your thoughts? Should have Arteta made changes earlier? Should he have made more of them, changed the system?
I think the thing that strikes me is kind of going back to maybe a few months ago when we were all like pulling him up for making the substitutions too late.
Yeah.
It seems like he's lost confidence as well. And I think that's what's preventing him from making the earlier changes. You know, granted, he did it against Notts Forest, and full credit to him for that. He just like made a decision and stuck with it, and I will absolutely stand him up for that. But this seems to me like he's lost his confidence as well. And this keep bringing Eddie on. I know we're not exactly well endowed with strikers at the moment, but I joked earlier. I would rather see Burnleyin go on up front than Eddie Nketiah at the moment, because he is not good enough. You know, he will run and he'll do his best, but the kid just isn't good enough. And another thing with like we were saying earlier, with Tavares, why couldn't he have come on for Smith Rowe and move him out to the left and put Gabby up front and maybe drop Lacazette in behind? You know, we needed something. We needed that impetus, a little bit of freshness, some raw pace, some real intent to go at them. And bringing Eddie Nketiah on, all right, granted, he did keep Lacazette on as well, but there was nothing there. It was, you know, I'm struggling to remember a lot about the game because I'd kind of switched off at a certain point. It was like, just get this over with. And I don't like feeling like that. That's the worst thing for me.
No, I understand this. It was a really, really, really tough game to watch. And, you know, you were just crying out for changes earlier in the game for me to just try and, you know, get someone to be a bit more direct. Or like you said earlier on, Keith, you know, you could have swapped Martinelli and Saka over, changed sides just to ask a different question of their fullbacks, because, you know, obviously what was going on wasn't working.
Are they allowed to do that?
Sorry,
I mean, that's the thing. Sorry to interrupt. It's like when I was a kid playing, you know, any level of youth football, and I played as a right winger, and I was always aware that, you know, you were allowed to interchange and like mix things up to confuse the opposition. So these lads must be aware of that. But I'm wondering, is it that they don't think to do that, or is it that they're not allowed to do that?
And as Keith said as well, if Mikel has lost confidence, surely the players have lost confidence. As a manager, you cannot show you've lost confidence. It's a sign of weakness. And if he's lost confidence and the players have lost confidence, that's the type of performance you're going to get.
Yeah,
the top managers don't show a sign of lack of confidence.
It might just be my take on it being cynical and being a bit miserable at the moment. But it could be he's done it before, hasn't he? Where he's brought players on, we thought that's weird, and it's almost like he's saying to the board, "Look, this is what I've got."
Sending a message, yeah. When he brought Kolasinac on in the Forest game, wasn't it? It felt like that then. So
it could be that.
Neil, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with the lads? Do you think it's something else? Is it ego, maybe?
Oh man, you know, I thought in the early days, I thought that he was a bit of an arrogant kind of fella. That is Mikel Arteta, but you know, Tavares was on the bench, and you know he's a direct player. He goes he bombs forward and he goes at the defense. So, and I think we really lacked that from our style of play yesterday. I really do, and I agree with you guys. You know, swap him out for ESR or Rob Holding, move Ben White back into the central position. You know, at least that gives you an added threat. It gives the opposition something to think about because he will overlap. Carantini and Ben White, they were not doing that yesterday. You know, I don't know if it was a confidence thing or what, or an instruction thing, but I just think, you know, it's something, it's a lot. I think it's a combination of a lot of things that's going on at and why we're playing the way we're playing right now. We don't have the resources. We don't have the confidence. It's a bunch of different things. It's just a ripple effect.
Maybe it was a message to the board then. Maybe. Obviously we can sit here and speculate all night long, but maybe it was a message to the board because, you know, in any game where you've got, you know, 2 games in hand on a team that are in 4th place and you win one of them, you go back into 4th. You make changes. You try to change the game. You try anything that you need in order to get 3 points, especially when you're dominating a game the way you did. Maybe it was. Who knows? Okay.
One other thing I noticed yesterday, before you move on, Jake.
That's okay.
This is the second game in a row you saw the players just slump onto the pitch at the final whistle. Like there are two sides to that. It's either they're super exhausted, which I don't believe they were, because they were not moving the ball quickly enough. They were not running around. They didn't have that edge like they usually do. It just seems as if they're not gassed up. They're just like out of it, like completely lost confidence.
Yeah, no, do you know what?
Like giving up.
It's difficult. It's difficult to know which it is. And I've played in games of football before now where you dominate a whole game and you end up losing 1-0 through a counter attack. I know that didn't happen, but where you absolutely dominate a game and you sat there at the end of it and you just sat there like, how didn't we win that game? How didn't
Lacazette score?
But when we dominate games, it's not like we dominate games with dominate shots on target. And this, when we dominate games, they're boring dominated games. They're slow. It's not like we're peppering the goal every 5 minutes and we seem to we have possession. We've seen it over the last few years. We'll dominate possession, but when you watch the actual game, we've done nothing with the possession. And as the manager, if the players are lacking confidence, it's the manager's job to motivate them, tell them, because again, not the fans are saying, we've 2 games in hand, but a couple of weeks ago, we all agreed that games in hand don't mean anything. We're talking about Spurs and West Ham and United. We need to watch out for Wolves, because if they beat us when we play them, they go above us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully the window can change that. We'll never know. We never know. We've got no football now for the next 17 days.
Thank God.
Window's 7 days. So, yeah, there's plenty of time for Arsenal to think about things. But moving on to the next question, I'm going to come to you first this time, Neil. Throughout the game, Arsenal did create chances. Some of them were very good. Saka went close 2 or 3 times. Odegaard from a free kick. I think Smith Rowe had 1 or 2 chances. There was that great routine from the corner that Nick Pope saved as well. But opportunity of the game, I think it's safe to say, as you can see on screen now, fell to Lacazette in the second half. We're not going to talk about the opportunity because I think it's one of those things, isn't it? It's tough enough. My question to you is, when Lacazette first came back into this Arsenal side, shortly after Aubameyang was dropped, he made a huge difference. The amount of goals that we were scoring in December was crazy, because if you remember, it went from Arsenal not being able to score pretty much any goals, creating loads of chances, to honestly, our goal scoring was phenomenal. What's changed? Because it's the same player.
I think no, but this is the Lacazette that we know from the time he signed. He comes on, he has an impact for some games, and then there's a dip in form. The same thing with Aubameyang. He has a dip in form in his season, every season that he plays. Dortmund to Arsenal. With Lyon to Arsenal, that's Lacazette for you. He has a dip in form. I think this is the dip. Unfortunately, it comes at a point where we're depleted, and or it could be the fact that he's basically carrying the weight of the team as the only really senior player on the team right now. He doesn't have the supporting cast, So I don't know, bro. Like, it's so many questions over what's happened in the space of a couple of weeks. Is it cup exit? Is it the missed chances that's knocking his confidence? Because we know that happens to him. If he misses some chances, he goes on a goal drought.
Yeah, it's tough. The only thing that I can see that's changed, the system is still the same. The player is still the same. Our 2 midfield players are the only thing that's changed since December. December, I know that we're not the biggest fan of Granit Xhaka. We all know he's very, very limited in his ability. Thomas Partey went off to AFCON, and I know they didn't play a load of games together. But Keith, coming to you next, what's changed in your opinion? Because maybe that security at the base of our midfield is causing problems with what we're doing going forward. What are your thoughts?
There's quite a few things changed at the same time. When you look at when we went on that run when everything was falling into place, I think we scored something like, was it 20 goals in 4 or 5 games?
Crazy numbers.
Yeah, and pretty much most things we hit were going in. But you look at the opposition we had; they were not the greatest. So we went on a bit of a run then. And you look at our last 4 or 5 games, with the exception of Nottingham Forest and Burnley. We've had 2 games against Liverpool. We played Man City. So these are tough games.
Yeah.
So that's had an impact as well. But going back to what we were saying about Latte just now, my brain scrambled at the moment. I can't remember if it was John or Neil was saying about the confidence. Lacazette, more than most, he's a real confidence player.
Yeah.
And he had the one that he ballooned against Liverpool, and then this one here, his confidence will be absolutely shot. And hopefully having an 18-day break will just get him levelled out again, if we haven't got anybody else in the next 7 days. But it's looking a bit sketchy, isn't it, to be honest?
It is. John?
If I'm being bluntly, the answer is he's not good enough. I love Lacazette, I love his hold-up play, but if you look at his stats, he's never scored over 15 goals in the Premier League in a season. 15 goals.
No, he's never been prolific.
No, he's
now
never
you're paying 50 million. When we're paying 50 million or 45 million for, supposedly a world-class strike. I don't think he's world-class at all. I think he's bang average. I think Chris Wood is better than Lacazette. Chris Wood will hold up the ball and he'll score 10 to 15 goals a season. I think Chris Wood is a better striker than Lacazette. Not good enough. Not good enough. If you're playing for Arsenal Football Club, you should be bagging between 20 to 25 just in a league, never mind all competition. So not good enough. He'll do till the end of the season, short term, but not good enough. No excuses. You can't miss that chance. It was easier to miss than score. Not good enough.
I'm going to come back to you again, John. Next question here. Now, look, I'm not here to completely bash the living daylights out of Lacazette. But if we look back at the last couple of games now, there's some really, really big chances that have fallen his way, chances that change games. There was the one in the Liverpool game. I think it was 1-0 at the time. And then yesterday, obviously at 0-0, if he scores that, Arsenal win the game.
Different game,
1-0. And these are the sorts of moments in seasons where, Arsenal could have gone into the top 4 yesterday. Arsenal could have taken it to extra time midweek and been in a final potentially. How important could signing a new striker in January be the difference to making or breaking Arsenal season? Because everyone has a different opinion. Some Arsenal fans see anything other than a top 4 finish as failure. Others happy with Europa. What are your thoughts on the importance of bringing in a striker in the next 7 days?
If I had to pick a striker, a midfielder, I'd probably go, you could buy a midfielder in and you could bring Aubameyang back into the team if you really wanted to. Now, I'm thinking bring Aubameyang back in if you're not going to sell him. He's on 350 grand a week or 375 grand a week. If you're not going to sell him this window, bring him back in and buy a midfielder. Xhaka got plenty of chances. So for me, Aubameyang buries them chances 9 times out of 10. So if you're not going to sign a striker, because we've seen all the rumours, bring Aubameyang back in. It's that simple. He should be forgiven. I'm sure it wasn't that bad what he done. You've punished him long enough. Bring him back in. It's as simple as that. And hopefully Lacazette and Aubameyang Lacazette seems to be a better impact player.
Yeah, well, that's how he was used, wasn't he, at the start of the season?
Yeah. These chances he's missed them last season too. I think Liverpool last season, at the start of the season when we played Liverpool, he missed a glorious one-on-one as well. So it's just not good enough. You can't play for Arsenal and be missing chances like that week in, week in when fans want to get forward.
Keith?
The bit with Aubameyang, I'll get what John's saying there. But the thing that sticks in my mind is he was missing goals for fun before he got dropped. I think there was about 3 or 4 games on the trot he was missing open goals.
Yeah, good point. But sorry there, Keith, but I think Lacazette's played more than Aubameyang this season, and Aubameyang probably still has more goals than him.
The thing is, Lacazette, we said this before, didn't we? Lacazette is a forward player, whereas Aubameyang is a goal scorer.
Poacher, yeah, they're different types of strikers, aren't they?
Aubameyang, if he's not scoring goals, he doesn't bring anything else to the
No,
game.
and let's not forget, Arteta partly ruined Aubameyang playing him out wide. You play your best forward up front, and he was playing him out wide to play a French Benteke up front.
Yeah, that's right. I remember we had a conversation, it was probably at the start of the transfer window, where I think I'd said that a midfielder was more essential than a striker because we were scoring goals for fun at that point.
I was the same.
That is no longer the case.
It's changed.
The point you made about this one that Lack has missed against Burnley, if you want to be near the top four, these are the games you've got to grind out with a dirty, horrible, ugly 1-0 with a scuffed winner. And that's where we've missed that. I said at the start of the season, top 6, and I'll stick by that. I'm not going to change halfway through. It's progress. It's not a massive amount of progress, but it's progress. And I do not think if we got in the Champions League at the moment, we would last much longer. We certainly wouldn't last through the group stage with this group of players. We'd get bombed straight out.
I think with what you need with squad depth, it's unless Arsenal are going to spend a ridiculous amount of money in the summer. I'm not saying I don't want Champions League football.
This manager was given 250 million and the fans want him to get 6th. Wow. That's 250 million. And he sold players. This is his team. People, when he won the FA Cup, after he won the FA Cup, people said he needed his own team. Let's not forget, he won the FA Cup with Emery's team. Now he has his own team and he got us dumped out.
Let's wait until the end of the season. Let's wait.
Let's wait. Don't offer him the contract till the end of the. If they give him the contract before the end of the season, it's a joke. Get to the end of the season, and when he finishes,
be talking about that in the season.
No, and when he finishes 7th or 8th, the fans can all celebrate, saying we finished 7th, we go again, and let them find more excuses.
Neil, what are your thoughts on the original question?
So a lot has happened since that original question. Do you mind repeating it?
I got it ready for you as well, because even I'd forgotten the question myself.
Yeah, thank you.
Lacazette's obviously missed some chances, some big chances in the last couple of games that would have changed the course potentially of 3 points, get into a cup final maybe. The question was, how important could signing a striker in January be to Arsenal's making or breaking season?
It's extremely, extremely important. Now, we're gonna have available players in a couple of weeks from AFCON and who's off red cards and all of that kind of stuff. But looking ahead towards the end of the season, I think we need to prepare for what's gonna be going out in the summer. And that is the strikers that are going to be out of contract. That's the midfielders that's going to be out of contract. So I need to see this board or whoever it is that's in charge thinking ahead and planning ahead so that come the opening of the summer window, we have these players lined up to sign, come in and have a season tour so everybody is gelled. Now, with regards to Lacazette missing those chances, those 2 points that we drop are extremely crucial. It's going to be like we have teams like Wolves now right on our backs. Like the top 4, like that top 4 spot, that number 4 spot is open for anybody. Is it open for Arsenal? In the next 7 days, we'll know if we were serious enough to go for it or not. Because in my opinion, if we have to get one player in right now, it should be a goal scorer. We're going to have midfielders available and we can deal with the midfield situation come the summer. But we need to get a striker because Lacazette and Aubameyang have been missing open goals. They've both been missing open goals. So I need to get someone in who is clinical. That's the word here. We need to get a clinical finisher. We don't have that. We have a lot of good forward players, but we don't have a clinical finisher. Thank you.
Well, look, there's 3 questions left, none of which related to the match. It's a quick fire round, quick fire questions. I always give that warning, and I know that we're all going to go off on a massive tangent now that I've said that. I've jinxed it. So I'm going to come straight back to you first, Neil.
Okay.
There's 1 week left of the January transfer window, as you all know. Okay.
Yeah.
Huge to our season. We've seen where the problems are in this team over the January period. Okay, Arsenal got no games now for the next 17 days. So Edu and the board and whoever else is involved, they can focus on transfers. It's important.
Yeah.
Are you expecting Arsenal to sign anyone in the next 7 days? If so, who and what position?
Isak and striker.
And do you genuinely think that Arsenal are going to make that signing in the next 7 days?
Yeah. I think it's a more doable signing than any other signing we have, because Arteta, and I don't mean to go off on another tangent, but Arteta is a whole wheel and deal, because we don't want 18 months and they want 18 months. We only just want 6 months. And Vlahovic, he's still waiting to see who's going to want him come summer. So I think it's going to be Isak.
You do make a good point, because Vlahovic is just not talking to anyone. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, apparently Everton don't want to talk to anyone until at least the summer. They're already having a bad season as it is. Jonathan David, very much in the same scenario. I think Fabrizio Romano said that Lille aren't willing to negotiate with anyone until the summer. However, Alexander Isak has got a £75 million release clause in his contract, which means if Arsenal put the money up front, they don't have a choice. We can speak to the player.
It'll be the first time.
Unless we bring someone in on loan, and I dread to think who that might be, considering some of the dodgy loan deals we've done in the past in January. Some of them have been successful, but some of them have been horrible. Keith, same question to yourself, mate.
I'm rapidly running out of hope. I never want to hear the word Vlahovic mentioned again. I've muted it on Twitter now because I'm fed up with it. I was fairly certain around about the 2nd of January that he was not going to come and play for us. He didn't want to play for us. And I feel like we wasted a complete window chasing after him, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only one I can see coming in, I agree with Neil, is Alexander Isak, and that is only because Edu has got previous of bouncing around La Liga and exploiting release clauses a la Thomas Partey. That's the only one I can see. No one wants to get rid of a striker January. No one, unless there's surplus to requirements.
Especially if they're scoring goals.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'd say either Isak, DCL, or Ollie Watkins, but none of them are going anywhere other than if we get Isak. So, yeah, that's where I'll be. I don't think we get a midfielder either.
John?
I don't trust, like most Arsenal fans, I don't trust the board. I trust the manager to a limit, but I think it'll just be a loan. I think it'll be a midfielder. I don't know if it'll be Arteta or anyone else, but I think it'll be a loan. Doesn't matter to me. I think if you get a midfielder in, get to this summer, and then get a world-class striker, because the remaining games mean nothing now. Top 4 means nothing to me. So if they get a striker in, he has the rest of this season to get his confidence going for next season to hopefully win a cup. But in terms of if we go out and sign Isak and he fires us into the top 4, I certainly won't have the party poopers out.
No, none of us will. Okie dokie. Next question 2 of the 3. So I'm going to come to you first this time, Keith. It's quite funny actually, because on our last show we spoke about Arteta getting a new contract potentially at the end of the season based on where he may or may not finish in the league. So they must have been watching. The board must have been watching our show, because shortly afterwards, rumours started circulating that Arteta was going to be offered a new 2-year contract extension. But not at the end of the season, not based on where he finishes, but more like now. They're afraid that he's going to replace Pep Guardiola. What are your thoughts?
The timing of it's shit. I remember there was loads of times, you know, all the contract extensions that Arsene Wenger signed, and he was always saying, I'm not talking about it until the season's over. We'll sit down, we'll talk about it then. I've never walked out on a contract yet, and I'm not going to do it now. It's just too much of a distraction. And at the moment, if we finish 8th, we haven't improved. And that was my small little thing that I wanted, was to see some sort of improvement, which meant top 6, not to come 8th again.
Because it is a risk, isn't it? You know, if we offer him a contract now, like, don't get me wrong, I'm Arteta in, but if we offer him a new contract now, another 2 years, and he finishes 8th, what sort of position does that put us in as fans, as a board?
Exactly. I'm the same, Jake. I've always been Arteta in, and I do want him to succeed. But I'm still at a point now where, is he learning enough fast enough? I like to think that he is. But if we get another 8th and he's been given a 2-year contract already, you watch the meltdown. It'll be absolutely ferocious. And then you'll start getting the banners at the ground. And that is not a position that anyone wants to be in. I tell you what does amaze me. Just change the subject slightly if I can, really, really quickly. Right, we're going to Dubai, yeah?
Yes.
For like a week-long break.
Yeah.
Why? Why are we doing that? We got a week left of the transfer window. Arteta needs to be here, and they're going to relax. I've never been to Dubai because I'm poor, but presumably it's like probably a 10-hour flight, something like that. So our way of resting and relaxing is going to blazing heat, 2 10-hour flights to do bonding and probably some, some commercial activities for the club.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more what you said there at the end. I think it's got to be more for commercial purposes than anything else, because it makes no sense to waste pretty much 2 days in flying there and back. The amount of jet lag, which is probably then going to cause 2 days worth of training being missed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't make sense unless it's for commercial.
I'll take them to a spa in Hertfordshire or something like that, surely.
Yeah.
What's funny about this contract rumor is saying Arteta would go to Man City. Man City appoint Graham Potter before they appoint Mikel Arteta, because he has a playing style and he probably has more bottle than this manager that we have. They're going to give him a 2-year contract because they love reward and failure. They gave Xhaka a new contract, reward failure. They'll give this manager a new contract to reward failure. It's as simple as that. Man City appoint Arteta, not a chance at all.
Yeah, this is just a rumor. It could be.
We had the one about Barcelona as well. Al Deportivo La Coruña in Spain wouldn't appoint this manager. He's done nothing. He's fluked an FA Cup. He's done nothing.
Hey Jake, I actually have to drop. I do apologize, but
no, not a problem, mate.
Great show. Sorry about
that. Thank you very
that.
much for coming along.
Thank you again, and big up the chat.
Take care, mate.
Take care, mate.
Right, one final question before we get into our game of the evening. And as things stand right now, John, right here, right now, where do you think Arsenal are going to finish in the season? Because we did a little prediction at the start of the season, didn't we? I think me and Keith we said 5th. We'd be happy with 5th.
Where do I think we'll finish, and where do I want to finish? Well, I'm not going to look at I don't really look at the table because we've games in hand, and I don't want to. You can't judge winning games in hand. But realistically, if we make no summer signings, where will we? January signings, where will we finish? Under this man, 7th.
Keith?
Spurs have. Oh no, sorry, never mind.
I still think 5th. I'm going to be ridiculously optimistic. I think we'll get it back because we have got a much easier run in than other people around us.
That means nothing though with Arsenal. We make every game hard, as we know. Spurs have a world-class manager.
Mate, I'm going to go 5th.
Spurs have a world-class manager. United have, I don't see it though.
It's difficult because I was of the same opinion at the start of the season. I would have been happy with 5th. I'm still happy with 5th. It's not the progress that all Arsenal fans want. I get that. Obviously, I've had my head turned like a lot of Arsenal fans have.
Can I ask you a question, Jesse?
Couple of months.
Why are you happy with 5th? Chelsea went from 10th. And that summer when Conte came in, they bought one player. I think it was it Diego Costa, and they finished 1st the following season. Why do we have to accept 5th? I'm not just a good debate. Like, why do we have to? Why are our standards so low? Because I know we're rebuilding and we've had a lot of dross in this squad, like a lot of dross. But let's look at the last few years. Leicester, they haven't got 4th, but they spent a lot of time in 4th and they finished 5th, 6th. I know this season they've tailed off. You know what happens, but why do our standards have to be so low?
I think the problem is that because of the 2 8th placed finishes that we've had in the last 2 seasons with an inexperienced manager, I get that we spent a lot of money. I understand and I appreciate that you need results off the back of spending a lot of money. But had we have brought in just for argument's sake, if we'd have brought in like a Conte and he'd spent the same amount of money, then Arsenal fans would probably have a much higher expectation to have finished in maybe like 4th because of the managerial experience and the CV that he has. But the problem is that the board have brought Arteta in and given him money based on a project. And
to blind the fans, to lower the standards slowly.
I wouldn't necessarily say blind the fans. I wouldn't agree with that. But
I think it's
when
to
we
lower
finished 8th for the last 2 seasons, we haven't had European football for the first time in 25 years. I'm not saying that running before you walk is the worst thing in the world, but we've also got to appreciate that if we got into the Champions League now, which don't get me wrong, I'd be very, very happy with financially, it makes a lot of sense. You're going to attract different players, potentially, not always the case. But I don't see how it's going to help Arsenal right now getting into fifth place.
But surely the sooner you get into the Champions League, if you get your batter in, it's experience for these young players. This project we have, it took Klopp 4 years. And then when you get into it the following season, then surely that would have been twice in the Champions League. So twice money would have been spent and invested. We're going to get battered in it eventually. So surely we should have been in it 2 seasons ago, really.
I get that. And then I think the other thing that you've got to look at, though, as well, is a lot of these players in the current squad have never played in Europe before. And they've never played.
They're going to have to someday, yeah.
They've never played in that sort of schedule before. So if we got into the Europa League next year, it's a good experience for them to be playing football every Thursday and Sunday, which is
they've done that and they've bottled it. Well, some of them done it, not all of them agree.
A lot of the players on here, Ben White's never done it before. Tomiyasu's never done it before.
Well, we've seen it other clubs where they'll sign unexperienced players or players that are experienced but not at the high level Champions League, and they've had no problem. For me, it just seems, I know it's going to take time, but for me, it just seems that the standards try to get lowered and lowered each season with a process and this and that. 1 minute we want Champions League, and then we're going to say, well, we're going to get hammered in it. Well, it was no different for under Wenger when we got bashed in it every year. So it's no different. We're used to that. So get into it, get the money, and challenge for the league.
I get what you're saying there entirely, John, because it's like when Wenger was here, we were unhappy with the fact that we were just aiming for fourth every season. Now that's like a hallowed ground. Me personally, the reason I'm not saying I'm happy with sixth, but the reason I've set that as a realistic target is you look at the players that Arsenal have had to get rid of, and they have got rid of in the last 12
no, fair play they have, of course. Yeah.
And you look at what squad we had 12 months ago compared with, I mean, my arms ain't even long enough to go up to Man City. They're so far beyond us. And that's one of the reasons why I was saying I'd love to be top four. I'd love to say, yeah, we can get a new player in and win the league. That just isn't realistic for us with the squad that we've had over the last 12 months. That's why I said fifth or sixth anyway.
Oh no, of course I agree. Sometimes it just gets so frustrating, and we all get frustrated, of course. But we all get frustrated, and like all Arsenal fans. But it's just
Arsenal at the end of the day, we shouldn't be where we are.
Yeah, and I know we have to accept eventually. Like, you can be as big as you want, but you have to be, you have to be look at the reality side of it sometimes. But I don't know. I just think we went too many years.
Summed it up. It's the reality of it, and that's the problem, isn't it? Sometimes
it's
hard.
Sadly, it just sinks in. Yeah, it just sinks in.
It does, and the problem some fans have got, and I'm one of those fans where, like, when I started to really appreciate football, like really, really, really appreciate football, Arsenal were winning doubles, competing for titles.
I've seen none of that.
Unbeaten and invincible. That was when I started to really appreciate and understand what football was. So
I've never seen a league title like
now. So it's difficult. It's difficult. But right, final part of today's live show. We really do appreciate everyone who has stuck around this long and made comments down in the chat. For those of you that are new around here, in this section, Keith and John will guess who picture number 1, 2, and 3 is based on the information on screen. They're analysing it as we speak. So please do get your answers in the chat on who you think picture number 1 is. A player with 91% passing accuracy, 1 key pass, 1 successful cross out of 5, 5 successful dribbles out of 11, and one stat that really shocked me was 11 duels won out of 24. Get your answers in the chat. John, who do you think it is, mate?
11 duels out of 24. Sugar. 1, 2, 5 crosses. I really don't know. I'm just going to have to guess at this stage. I'm just going to guess Saka. I have no clue, mate.
Keith?
I'm going to have to go the same, just looking mostly at the heat map more than anything. I mean, 11 out of 24 duels.
Yeah, that's...
He was a busy boy yesterday by the looks of it, wasn't he?
Yeah, Saka, I suppose.
It is Saka. You're absolutely spot on, the pair of you. I was really, 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 really shocked with that, to be fair.
That just threw me when I looked at that, yeah.
Ryan also coming through with a comment for Saka. I thought he had a really good game yesterday. Very unlucky.
He was
not to
bright
actually get
again.
himself a goal.
Yeah.
Especially at the end of the first half, I thought if there was anyone that was going to get the goal or unlock Burnley, it was going to be him. Do you guys agree? Or
Yeah, he was a bright spark again.
Yeah, him or Martinelli. But Martinelli gets doubled up on, and he's much more direct. There was a couple of times Saka looked like he could have carved him open. It's just I wanted him to go outside and use his right foot a bit more. It was too.
He could have done with someone overlapping him, but again, it's
he missed Tommy, didn't he?
He did.
That's when he can cut in and use both feet, and he just it was unlucky. But again, the dual stat really shocked me. But decent performance, and if it was anyone going to get the goal or unlock the defense, it was him, Martinelli. The other two boys in the middle, I think, were. Well, Smith Rowe went on a dash and run where Lacazette missed a chance, but they weren't their usual best. But that just shows how good they have been.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, picture number 2, Keith. We've got a player here with 91% passing accuracy, the same as the last player. 4 key passes, 1 successful cross out of 6, 2 successful long balls out of 5, and 3 successful duels out of 10. Who is picture number 2?
I'm going to go 4 just because I seem to recall him spending a little bit more of his time in what old folk like me would call the inside right position. Martin Odegaard.
And John?
Ooh, I'm going to go for Smith Rowe.
Smith Rowe. Any comments coming through in the chat? I do appreciate there is a slight delay for some reason. Okie dokie. So the answer is Martin Odegaard.
Ooh.
Yes, Martin Odegaard yesterday, 4 key passes. He's racking up those key passes for Arsenal at the moment.
Really
he's doing. It's getting to the point now where he's played in a number 10. I remember he's coming in under a lot of criticism at one stage this season, and then he's come into the side and he's scoring goals, assists, and now he's playing in a side where we can't score goals, but he's still doing his job. What did you make of his performance yesterday, Keith?
He was one of the better players, I think. Bear in mind, this is only his second game back after COVID, and he probably only got over COVID about a week ago. And he's played against Liverpool and in the midfield against Burnley. I've been, he's not been 9 out of 10, but I'd say he's been solid 7 out of 10s in both of those games, really. And he's the only one who looks like creating anything against a side like Burnley through the middle. And he was very unlucky with one of the free kicks he had yesterday as well, I seem to remember.
Yes.
I thought it was deja vu with that free kick. I thought it was going to be a part 2.
Yeah.
Oh, what did you think of him, John, yesterday?
Yeah, I thought he was decent. Not decent in an average way, decent in a good way because of the standard he set himself recently, this season. So I thought again, anything coming through the middle, I thought he would have unlocked it. Well, we know our 4 players, it's him, Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, but he looked bright at stages. He looked bright in stages, but again, it wasn't his best performance. But by no means he was decent.
He's starting to look like a leader as well.
He keeps things ticking as well. He's the only one. Him and Smith Rowe will move the ball a bit quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
He's a candidate, isn't he, for captain?
I think so.
Yeah, he's changed my mind, certainly.
You can see why that when it was quite funny because we talked about it on one of the shows on this channel. I can't remember which show it was now, but shortly after Aubameyang was stripped of his captaincy, we were all saying, right, should he be giving it to someone straight away or within a few weeks, or should he be waiting until the end of the season or whatever the situation is? But it was like the other night, obviously Xhaka wasn't playing, Lacazette went off, first person who got the armband, Kieran Tierney. Read into that what you want.
Yeah.
But Odegaard is definitely a leader on the pitch as well. If Xhaka does go in the summer, Laka leaves on a free.
Yeah.
Kieran Tierney picked it up next. Was Odegaard playing at that point? I think he was, wasn't he?
I think so, yeah.
And I think the only other person in that supposed leadership group was Rob Holding, which we all know he probably, if he is going to be at the club, he's going to be a bit part player. I can't really think of anyone else. It's Ramsdale and Gabriel, but I've not really seen them given the armband since the Aubameyang.
No.
So, something to keep
interesting.
an eye on.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Okie dokie. Final player of today, passing 90%, key passes 2, 0 crosses out of 7, 9 successful long balls out of 15, and 2 successful duels out of 3. John, who is it?
15 long balls. The Heat. I don't know. I'm gonna Tierney.
Keith?
See, that's the bit that bothers me because the bit on the halfway line, that's massive heat map. And the crosses, I'm sure. Do you know what? I'm going to go for something slightly different. And I'm going to go Sambi.
It was Kieran Tierney.
Well done, John.
It was Kieran Tierney. So well done, John. And just before I ask you about his performance yesterday, I know earlier on, John, that you mentioned that Arsenal put something like 33
crosses into the box
yesterday. And you can see by the numbers here on screen now, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
I know obviously Burnley are not the side that you want to be doing that against, but it goes back to the fact that if we had that big, powerful striker up top,
but more prolific. Yeah.
But more prolific, yeah. Not necessarily against the Burnley, but against, some of the other sides in the Premier League. It shows that we could be really dangerous going forward.
And not only that, when Tierney whips in the ball, he's not like other players when they whip it in and hope. When he whips it in, he puts in like 90% of his crosses are dangerous. They can be turned in by defense. They only need that slightest touch.
Little touch.
Yes, they're tight. Yeah, that's all it takes.
What did you make of his performance yesterday, mate?
He does what it says on the tin. He gives everything. He goes out with passion. He gives everything, whips the ball in, bombs down the byline, works back, defends well. I don't really have anything bad to say about Tierney. The only thing we ever say bad about Tierney is his injuries, which have been so far so good.
Touch wood.
Yeah. But no, Tierney, he always gives a solid 7, 8 out of 10. 7, 8 out of 10, yeah.
Keith?
Yeah, same as John, really. I can't really fault the bloke. He's, I know he had a bit of a slow start to the season, but that's only because he'd set the benchmark so high for himself.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he doesn't have bad games. He has games where he's less effective or where he's not quite as brilliant as we're used to. But he doesn't seem to have bad games. He was solid. I was saying he's one of the leaders on the pitch, and between players like him, Odegaard, Gabriel, and Latte up top, they're trying to bring everyone else along. Touch wood, his injury record hasn't been too bad just lately.
Yeah.
And as John correctly said, that's been the biggest problem, is just the awful luck he's had with injuries since he came down to us. But yeah, I love the bloke. Absolutely love him.
Yeah, you can't not love him. He puts everything out on that pitch. He leaves it all out there.
Exactly.
And like you guys said, he's always a minimum of about a 7 out of 10. So what more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? Okie dokie. So I think that is going to about wrap things up for this evening. Before we do shoot off, drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here, turn the notification bell on, all the usual bits and pieces, if you wouldn't mind. It really, really helps me out. But before we do shoot off for the evening, I would like to thank everyone in the chat for coming along, making an effort and fielding some questions. Really, really, really do appreciate you spending some of your precious time with us, gentlemen, this evening.
Loosely, Jake.
I know, I hesitated there. I couldn't think of another word. But before we do sign off, John, thank you very much for coming on, my friend. Where can the people find you?
I appreciate it, and you can find me on Twitter at JohnJordan2021. What I'll add is, at the moment, when I'm done with the lads tonight, I'm going to be making another Twitter page. I'll put it on my main page, but it's going to be based on mental health, and that'll have YouTube details on it. So we'll be posting stuff daily, just quotes and stuff like that, little things like that, just to try, help people. But yeah, at the moment, you can find me at JohnJordan2021, and thanks for having me on, Jake, again.
Always a pleasure. Keith, thank you for coming along as well. Really do appreciate it. Where can the people find you?
Thank you for having me back on again, mate. I love coming on. It's great fun chatting with you lot. Twitter, you can find me at the Mad Rambling one. I'm on there quite a lot. And if you fancy having a look at some of my videos, I've got a YouTube channel called Mostly Arsenal, and does exactly what it says on the tin. Mostly Arsenal, some random shit that happens on a day-to-day basis. Have a look.
Good. Details down in the chat. Well, not down in the chat, down in the description even. You can tell it's getting late on a Monday evening. So go and follow Keith, John, and Neil, who was here earlier on. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I won't be making any videos or streams over the next couple of days. I will be doing a transfer special tomorrow on Lee Judge's channel with Albert and Rohan. So if you do fancy that, head over there. Come and watch me.
What time's
Sorry,
out,
Keith?
Jake? What time's out?
I think it's 7 p.m. So
Brilliant.
if you've finished
Okay,
work and you've got an
remind you for
opportunity, please do head over
Have you in the chat?
get updated on all the transfer news and some stats. And then, Keith, I think me and you are heading over to Albert's channel on Friday, aren't we?
We are. Yeah, look forward to that. The old life stories. I'm a big
Yes.
fan of the life stories that Albert does.
Same.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot.
So if by Friday you haven't had enough of me and Keith, you can find us on Albert's channel on Friday night as well. So thank you all very much for coming along. Stay safe, take care, and bye for now.